All right. Hello, everyone. Good morning, afternoon, and evening, everyone. I am Grace Chen, and it's a pleasure to welcome you to an edition of Quantic Conversations, and in fact, the first one of 2024, and focused on AI's workforce impact skill evolution. So, a year has flown by since our enlightening chat with Ari Popper on the transformative potential of AI. Some of you may have joined us last year, February. And as technology continues to intertwine with our professional lives, today's discussion is more relevant than ever. We're here to bridge the gap between theoretical AI discussions and the practical realities unfolding across the global workforce and even you at home. So, in the next 45 minutes, we'll navigate through how AI is reshaping skills, transforming industries, and what this means to professionals at all levels. And don't worry if you have to step away from this conversation. It's recorded, and you can find it at the same link after today's session. So, a little bit about Quantic, because that's who we are. If you're interested in deepening your expertise with Quantic's MBA or executive MBA programs, keep an eye on the handy QR code at the top left corner of your screen throughout today's session. And you'll learn more about our student experience. And of course, you're hearing from one of our alumni today. Now, for everyone in the audience, wherever you are in the world, we want to engage with you. That's really what these are about. It's a full-on conversation between myself and Ari, but also with you out there in the world. So go ahead in the comment box. Tell us where you are calling in from. We love to see how global our community is and where everyone is right now at this moment. And if you're feeling, as you're listening to my conversation with Ari, if anything is resonating with you, maybe you have a question, also feel free to use the comment box to put down what you're thinking. And we would love to also see your insights and feedback. Now, we are, and I am personally thrilled to have Ari Popper back with us. He's actually been on last year at this time. We've had him at a conference in Barcelona. I've had many conversations with him myself. Ari is the founder and CEO of SciFutures, and he is truly a beacon of innovation. Foresight into the AI landscape, it is unparalleled. And together we will delve into the critical shifts AI is prompting in our professional and personal lives. So much has happened and so much is happening. So, without further ado, let's dive in. I'm going to ask if Ari can join me on the virtual stage. Poof, and there you are.
Yay. Woo.
I love that we can be 3 hours apart and still showing up in the same place. Hi Ari, how are you today?
Hi, Grace. I'm excellent. How are you?
But I know this topic is really important, and I'm excited because I feel like I'm a different person since last year when
Yeah,
ChatGPT really came on the scene. But before we get into things, could you just kick us off by letting the audience know a little bit about who you are and what you do, what SciFutures does?
sure. Yeah. Well, it's great to be back. Love working with you and love talking about this topic. So, I'm the CEO and founder of SciFutures. As Grace was saying, we're a foresight and innovation agency working with mostly Fortune 100s, 200s around the world. And what we do is we help them get a real sense of where the world's going to be in 5 to 10 years. We use storytelling, work with science fiction writers, and help them identify opportunity areas to create more transformative innovation. We've also been doing a lot of leadership skill development over the last 3 years, helping them with the future literate mindsets to kind of get a handle on all this change, opportunity, and challenges. Yeah, so it's a great job. Worked with fantastic companies like Coca-Cola, L'Oreal, large hospital chains. You never know which company is going to land on your desk in the morning, but they all have the same challenges, and that's really understanding AI and what it means to where they need to be. So that's what we've been spending lots of our time trying to figure out and trying to make sense of it.
And I know you've been literally all over the world, even in the last 12 months, working with different people. So your work is now cut out for you for sure. It has been and it will
Yeah.
continue to be. So I want to ask you, from
Mm,
your perspective, um, as founder of SciFutures and having worked with all the clients you have up to this AI explosion, at least, what looks to us normal folks, the regular folks, as an AI explosion. Even in the
yeah.
last year, what has changed for you? Has your view on the way things are, has any of that changed for you as a founder and as a person?
Yeah, I think, we've been saying for over a decade that the pace of change is just exponential. It's just, but to actually see it happen and to live through it is stunning. So I would say I'm not surprised at how quickly things are changing, but I still feel shocked.
Okay, okay.
And everyone, even those like us who are trying to make sense of AI and what it's doing, we're all working very hard to keep up. And even over the last few days, there's been stunning announcements in the world of AI.
Yeah.
Even this morning or yesterday, and I'll talk about that in a sec.
Okay.
So I think what's changed is maybe a deeper appreciation of how quickly things are changing. And for us, because our job is to help our clients be ready for that change, um, how we help them get ready to apply these opportunities as quickly as they can in a meaningful way. So it's I guess it's just much more of pressure and impetus on us to help our clients get ready.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And the the word readiness, I think that's a great kind of, we can kind of keep that in the back of our minds as we're moving through these questions and answers of,
Mm.
many of us feel lost or not ready. Are we behind? Are we, what do I need to do to get ahead? These are all very kind of broad feelings, but I think even for those of us who haven't seen this quote unquote coming, uh, we feel a sense of urgency. So, and that's why this conversation will be really great to have with you. So, we've
Mm.
curated a set of questions, and they are representing several buckets, but they are definitely interconnected. And just to give the audience a sense of what Ari and I will be talking about, we're going to touch on shifting attitudes towards AI. AI in the learning space, degrees and certificates, prioritizing what skill sets, what should people be paying attention to. We're going to learn about what synthetic customers are, and then storytelling, of course. So I just wanted to kind of give all of you a little bit of a preview of the topics that we're going to touch on. The first one, let's dive into, would be shifting
Mm.
attitudes toward AI. So looking back on this year since our chat GPT discussion, which by the way, if those of you
Mm.
who didn't attend, it was an insane amount of people in the audience. I
Yeah.
think like 5,000 of you RSVP'd, and I think over 1,200 attended. So that was a year ago. And even ChatGPT coming on the scene was not even more than a year and a half ago, maybe. Can you
Mm.
share, Ari, your observations on the shifting attitudes toward AI implementation across industries?
Yeah, I think what I'm hearing um, is our clients feel overwhelmed. They feel like they can't keep up. They understand it is transformative. I think a year ago it was, this is interesting, wow, but I'm not quite sure how transformative it is. And there were some skeptical comments, and every now and then there are. But now it's like, this has real enterprise transformation implications. How we work, processes, what we've done traditionally needs to change. What it means for how we train people, what jobs we need. I think there's a real appreciation for that now, and a sense of being overwhelmed.
Mhm.
Like, how do I stay relevant in my job? How do I make sure my team's relevant? How do I
Mhm.
make sure that I'm considering all the vital considerations around AI? Do we have an AI strategy? Do we, some companies are now hiring for chief AI officers. And New York Times did an interesting article on that. If you're interested, we can get you the link to that one. Just how the title of chief AI officer is now being brought on board. So I think no one's got it figured out. Very few companies, I think, are doing it in the right way. So there's generally like all hands on deck. We need to get on top of this. It's urgent. Let's do it.
Mhm.
So there's real panic. I think if you're in a learning and development function where your job is to train leaders and executives in terms of how AI is going to transform work in your job, I think their pain points are, how do we know we're talking to the right experts? How do we know that we have all the right signals, that we're really understanding what the shape of the future looks like?
Mm.
And then how do we give leaders or our executives the right skills to make them effective in their jobs? So there's just a lot of uncertainty and panic over that. And leaders barely have time for training. People are busy anyway, so it's like, how do we make sure that we make the best use of that time?
Mhm.
And this is primarily focused on AI. It's not just AI, but it's primarily focused on AI. So there's this real sense of help. We need help.
We need help.
Yeah, yeah,
Last year, when we chatted, something that really stuck with me, you were talking about I guess, the arc of when innovation or change comes,
yeah,
and you talked about chaos and amazement. So I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, at that time, a year ago, we were still in chaos. I think we were more in chaos.
yeah.
Where would you say we are on that arc right now?
I think there was kind of like last year was like, this should be chaos, but we're not sure.
Yeah.
Like it was a little bit of disbelief. Like, what does this mean? Like a
Mm,
little curiosity. Like, what is ChatGPT? What does this mean? Like, it was
yeah.
sounds like it's going to be big. Now I think the predominant feeling is this is big. It's huge. It's not a fad. It's not a trend. Um, but it's still chaotic. There's still a lot of chaos and amazement. And then when you have these big announcements like Sora, which is text to video, which is absolutely incredible. And now Grok, which is like hyper fast um, responses, you know, in the milliseconds. Again, people are just realizing how fast the space is evolving,
Mm,
which puts more pressure on them. So I think the mindset around there is this feeling of being overwhelmed,
mm,
slight confused, a bit of panic, and this like we've got to get on top of this, but how the hell do we? That's kind
right.
of the feeling I think that I'm hearing for the most part.
For the most
Yeah,
part. And this is
yeah,
coming from people running businesses and companies. So,
yeah.
you mentioned mindset, and this
Mm,
will be my last question for this bucket for now. And before we move on to the next one, um,
mm,
what would be uh, what would be a good mindset to generally have in a time like this where it's almost unavoidable that there is some chaos and confusion and you don't know what you
yeah.
don't know, but is there a good way to frame your mind around what's going on just in general for all of our individuals out there?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think, what we've developed is a future literacy mindset, and there are five of them. And this is based on, over a decade of working on the edge, working with very futuristic concepts, futuristic technologies, and seeing what it takes for large organizations to be able to make that transition and apply transformative change into their organization. So what kind of mindsets make us successful
Mm,
to achieve that? And they're more important now than ever. And so we have these five mindsets, but we also have this analogy of what it takes to do really disruptive innovation. And and the analogy I like to share when I do a corporate development training is of SpaceX launching a rocket with the returnable thrusters. And if you want, I can actually pull it up because I think it's good. It's good to see. I don't know if I'm able to present it, but it's a good kind of mental framework Let's see if this works.
Well,
Present. Slides. Okay, that doesn't work. Let's try present, share screen. Share screen. Window. Yes, it works. Okay. So I don't know if you guys can see this.
oh,
Um,
yes, we can. Yeah,
okay, cool. So
cool.
this is an analogy of what we've learned that you need to know when you're doing with really transformative technology. So the first thing is, if you're trying to bring this into the organization, is do we have a good grounding, a good understanding in the critical foundational technologies to ensure we understand what's going on, flexibility and resilience. So again, just think of this as an analogy, what it takes for SpaceX to launch and return a rocket. Then do we have enough fuel to get off the pod? So if you're doing work in AI and you're trying to bring transformative AI into your organization, do you understand it? Have you got the right experts? And do you have enough resources to get it off the pad? Like, is it money, time, the right people? Do you have enough velocity to overcome gravity, friction, and inertia? Now, I'll tell you this, working with large companies, as soon as you try to bring something new, the white blood cells come out into the organization and they try and kill you. And if you work with a big company, you've tried to do things that are very different, you
Yeah.
know that's the case. So you
Mhm,
need enough velocity
mhm,
to break through. You need the right team, pilot and a crew that knows where they're going, the problems they need to solve. So who's working on this project? Do you have the right people with the right skills? You need to be flexible and adaptive because it's the unknown and things are
mhm,
changing. So do you have the right kind of mindset in terms of flexibility and resilience? Um, Again, related to the white blood cells, is do you have this blast shield to protect you from the heat and friction that will come down? And it comes down. The more disruptive, the more transformative, the more the organization is just going to fight you. So that heat shield can be senior leaders, can be the C-suite saying, no, this is really important to our business. We've got to do it. So that's really important. Guidance system. So do you have the right kind of advisory board?
mhm,
Do you have the right stakeholders giving you feedback? When things aren't working, can you jettison the assets that are no longer helpful, etc.? And do you have the right feedback loops? So as you're learning, as you're trying new things, do you make sure that you have the right way to capture information, the right information, and then be able to learn and adjust? So it's a nice mental
mhm,
framework, I think. And underneath that, there are what we've developed are like 5 different mindsets,
mhm,
future literally mindsets,
mhm,
um, and skill sets. And I can get into those if you want. But again, this is all based on our empirical experience doing
mhm,
transformative innovation with large companies. Um, you know, what has made large organizations successful in the past won't necessarily make them successful in the future. And also, they've become very, very good at doing what they do by wringing all the inefficiency, I should say, out of
mhm,
the system. So it's very, very efficient. Um, and so that's the muscle memory that these large companies have.
mhm,
And that's how incentive structures are organized. And that's, how people think they need to jobs. And now we're asking them
mhm.
to, to do two things at once. Yes, continue to do that, but
Right.
also do different things. So the types of
Ooh,
mindsets that
yeah.
sorry, did you want to ask a question? Do you want me to pause there?
No,
Because
no, 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 no. I think that we could probably, but no, no, not at all. I'm completely
okay,
tuned in. I'm
okay,
I'm I'm also thinking about this is a paradigm shift. So I know we're here to talk about, and
mm,
we are going to talk about skills, which I now when you show that was a wonderful framework to look at. It
mm,
is holistic. It's not just, oh, do I need A, B, and C skills to use certain tools? It's not even about that from what I'm gathering from you. It's this pretty much looking at everything in a much more global sense and seeing what if it's an organization, I have to look at how do I operate right now and
Mm,
what changes and redesigns need to happen so that I can build in
exactly.
this is almost forcing all of us to look at what we have as as a person, as an individual, what set of skills do I have that might fit into that launch process? And then, if you're leading an organization, then you have to basically have a really honest look at how are we doing things because you just said it doesn't work. It what the past old ways won't make you more ready and adaptable to this new future. So, no,
Exactly.
I love listening to you. I feel you're Professor Popper. That's what I think you are. But, and actually, I'm gonna stick we're gonna pivot over to education now because I think this
Yeah.
is obviously we're a business school, so we're all about educating,
Yeah.
our students. So, and I just saw an article I shared with you earlier this week
Mm,
that an Ivy League has rolled out the first AI degree, and there are just a number
mm,
of other institutions and companies rolling out courses left and right, and even
yeah.
ourselves at Quantic, we're also rolling out certificate programs. So, with the introduction of AI degrees and certificates by educational institutions, what implications does this have for future skill sets, or what kind of signal is this?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's great. Like, um, obviously, being educated in what AI is, what the pros and cons are, how it works, the capabilities, and I think in particularly important, the ethical challenges that it brings, which are immense. Um, and we can have a whole session on ethics, but um, that's fantastic because you're coming into the workforce with a good appreciation of it, and it gets very technical very quickly. I've spent a lot of time over the last month looking at synthetic data and synthetic consumers. So this is the idea that you can create alternative data sets um, using these generative AI models. And the things that you can do with synthetic data is absolutely amazing. It's wonderful. But you can also create synthetic customers. So basically, AI representations of your customers, and you can do research with them as if you were doing a consumer survey or qualitative research. You can actually just ask the AI. So what I've learned just over the last couple of months is that it gets very technical very, very quickly, and you can get out of your depth very, very quickly. But also, it gets very esoteric and very philosophical very quickly too. It gets almost poetic. The more
Mm.
you know, the less you know, even if you're like
Oh,
an
no.
expert. Yeah, sadly, that's the case.
Technical and philosophical. That's a lot to
Yeah,
balance at
it
one that's
is.
like that's different parts of the brain that need to actively work at the same time.
Yeah, but I think the education part is important because you can go in with more, you can have conversations with more confidence and basically say, yeah, but this person, they're not really thinking about X, Y, or Z, or I know when I'm being bullshitted, or
Yeah.
that's you kind of have a good sense of reality if you're well educated on it. But I
Mm,
think the challenge is because it's changing so quickly.
mm,
Um, you know, you're only as smart as the last paper you've read and where it's at. I think the challenge is you're going to have to continue
mm.
deepening that education. But for me, I think because I'm very focused on practical outcomes for our clients, I
Yeah.
think yes, having the knowledge about AI is really important. But what I feel is equally, if not more important, is how do you get people to work together
Mm,
to create transformation using AI? So yes, you need the experts on the team, you need the data scientists, and you need your partners who are experts in AI. But then you also need the people who are able to um, streamline change and make change happen within the company. And what are the skills and the mindsets and the qualities that it take to effect that change and to make it stick?
mm.
And that's where we've been spending a lot of time. And you absolutely need your AI experts.
Yeah, yeah.
But, you know, Grace, I know you're really into this idea of cross pollination, which I
I
love.
am.
Yes.
It's my favorite.
Yes.
It
Yes.
makes
So you
sense.
it makes amazing sense. So one of our mindsets is innovation is a team sport. So you've got your AI expert, but then you've got the person the politician on the team, who
Okay.
can negotiate and
Mm.
and find the right projects and find the right stakeholders and smooth out the issues when they happen. And then you've got the people who are, well organized and help and are able to see it through. And then you've got the people who are just constantly removing barriers out of the way so
Mm.
that it has momentum. Um, so so I think that's what I'm really interested in.
Yeah.
One of the best ways to create change is to have a unified vision of what your company's preferred future looks like. So a lot of these companies are like, help us, running around with our heads cut off. AI, what does it mean? But it's important to step back and say,
Mm.
okay, knowing about all the signals of change and where this is heading, what does our preferred future look like for
Mm.
ourselves as a company, for our customers, for the business models? Let's create a vision, a story that we can all rally behind and get excited about, and then work backwards from there to be able to implement changes in a now, next, future basis. So that's
Mm.
what I'm super passionate about and what we've been doing for over a decade.
Mm.
Is if AI is ubiquitous and we're going to have synthetic customers all the time at work with us, or synthetic employees, you have your best salesperson in the room at any point in time, or the CEO can be in every single meeting at every time. What does that mean for our future?
Mm.
Um, Envision it, bring it to life, create a visceral connection with it using
Mhm.
story,
Mhm.
and then work backward from there to develop specific innovation plans to get there.
Mhm.
And I think that gives everyone a kind of, okay, we're all rowing our canoe in that direction. That's where we want to go.
Yeah.
The reality is, while you're rowing your canoe in that direction, things will change and you'll have to adjust. But that's okay. It's much better than everyone running around with their heads cut off, which that's
I'm picturing people with their heads cut off right now.
yeah, oops.
Um,
Yeah,
you're gosh, so
yeah,
much right there, and I also
yeah,
I see some comments in there. People do
yeah.
want to hear the 5 mindsets, but and maybe I'll
Sure.
have you talk about that next. So
Mm,
I'm increasingly getting from you that this is not a solo sport. And none of this is. This is very much, you mentioned team. The Again, that visual that you just shared with us of what it takes to launch a spaceship and bring it back. I can picture
mm,
where certain education and learning fits into that larger picture, but then
definitely.
um, um, hiring and bringing the right team together, or if I'm an individual contributor or just a person trying to figure out where will my career go in this kind of landscape, then even imagining what do you say, preferred future?
Yeah,
I don't think I've ever heard that framed for, like, let's say, career goals. People talk about, I want, what I want to be, what kind of position, what kind of role. Um, I'm going to ask a small question now. Does this mean for individuals that we also have to rethink, in a way, redesign our career paths, knowing that there's so much of this technology in the organizations we're working in?
definitely. Um, Absolutely. Because I saw this wonderful framework for thinking about skills and work and jobs. And it's basically, imagine a circle that's all the work that humans can do. Within that circle is the jobs that AI can do instead of humans. But around those two circles is all the jobs that AI and humans can do, all the new jobs that we can do.
Together.
So it's a paradigm shift in terms of how we think about work and the jobs that we do. And I think that's the right way to think about it.
Okay.
It's not humans, it's not AI, it's humans and AI.
Human
And what
side.
does that look like? So that's a nice, I think, personally for us to think about the way we work and the skills we have is how can I work better with AI? And that means I have
Mm,
to keep on top of it. And or if I'm responsible for bringing AI into the organization, and I can give you a very real example.
yeah, please.
Um, my background originally before I was working in it as at SciFutures was I was working in consumer insights and market research. I was president of a research company, and the whole business of marketing and getting consumer insights will change because of AI. And essentially, the three key things that you do as a market researcher is you want to understand consumer insights. So what are the pain points that we're trying to solve? And that gives you kind of strategic visions of where to take your marketing and innovation based on those insights. And then there's actual like tactical questions. So like, did this ad work? Do these product concepts work? And then there's executing on that. So based upon what we've learned, how do we execute and learn and model our performance and do market mix modeling and all of that kind of stuff. So with AI, you might be able to do that all pretty instantly on your desktop. So do I need a consumer insight? Right. I ask the AI a persona segmentation. Let's say it's my customer, they're on the East Coast of the US, or they're in Nigeria. You ask them, what questions about different products and pain points that they have. These personas have been trained on real consumer data. They've been validated, so they're pretty accurate. So you get instant insights. Now you can say to some generative AI agent, I'm not talking the future, right? But not too far away. Generate me product concepts, generate me ad ideas, create those ads. I mean, if text to video is working, like Sora, like we've seen, you could take those insights, create a video or an ad. You could then test that ad with synthetic consumers rather than real consumers, and get close enough in terms of feedback, and then go out and basically test them maybe with real consumers or launch it. But exactly how that process, I think, plays out, it will remain to be seen, and it depends on how quickly these technologies come online. But trust me, they're getting close.
Right.
And then, so what does it mean for work and the jobs that we do? So if I'm a consumer insights professional and I'm a marketer, that's how I should be thinking about my future. It's not me conducting market research surveys, analyzing results, working with the ad agency to develop the ads. It's rapid iteration, trying different things, using AI to get the best possible, to get us as far as we can. Test learn very quickly, maybe in a couple of days, and then launch it. So it's just, hopefully this is a good example of the different ways we need to start to be thinking about work and the jobs that we do compared to where we are today.
Let me thank you for that. It's great that you shared a concrete example. So you used marketing and customer insights. So I'm in education. Other people are going to be in healthcare. Whatever industry we're in. No doubt, we all spend a good amount of our time doing work, time-consuming work that needs to be done and now can be, or increasingly will be able to be done by an AI tool or somewhat. So I'm trying to picture my skill or anyone's skill development beyond that layer, what you just talked about. If AI can do all the things that you used to spend days and days and hours, you just said a little bit, but if you can unpack a little bit more, now you don't have to do all the surveys and collecting the feedback. You have time and bandwidth. What is that skill next level? Is it a mindset thing? Is it an adding on of new skills? Is it like an evaluation lens? What is that extra layer in the case you're talking about, for instance, in the marketing world? What does a marketing person need to have more of now, because she or he will have more space to develop that?
I think probably what I'm going to say is a bit of heresy, and I'm scared saying this publicly, but I think once we know that our tools, these synthetic data tools, and synthetic are validated and they work pretty well, do we need to spend all the time learning the methodology and learning how to do these studies?
Right.
You probably are going to need somebody on your team to know that, because you don't want some black box AI agent. You want to be able to kick the tires and make sure it's credible. But wouldn't it be better rather than spending hours and hours and hours learning how, is to learn how to work with those agents
Mm,
and to bring your own ingenuity, your own creativity into your collaborative relationship with
mm,
these um, new tools that we're getting. By the way, there's a website called Futurepedia, and they catalog all the AI tools that are coming out.
yeah.
And I just looked this morning before this webcast, and there's 5,696 AI tools
Oh my
in
gosh.
in 8 categories, and those categories are AI productivity, AI video, AI text, AI image, AI art, AI audio, miscellaneous of 1,000, AI code. Um,
Mm.
Coding's a good example, actually. It's like, do I really need to learn how to code, or
Um,
can I just outsource my coding skill? And like, I know I'm going to get crucified for saying this, but
it's
like, by all means, if you want to learn how to code, learn, or at least know enough.
right.
But if AI agents are going to code, and
Yes,
they're going to code pretty accurately and
right.
quickly, let them
Then
do it.
let him do it.
Spend your time working how to get the best out of your relationship with that.
Interesting.
Um,
This actually
yeah,
creates like a flip question. I know our topic in general thought is what do I need to acquire or change or redesign? What do I need to acquire? What skills do I need that I'm not either using right now or I should actually go out and try to develop? But the flip
mm,
side to that is what you're saying is what skills will eventually be obsolete or unnecessary, maybe not completely out of the picture, but we don't need to invest as much time and education on
yeah,
certain skills if AI is able to do it better or as good. And then, okay, if that's the case, then how much do I, as the human, need to understand? Like, what's the minimum amount I need to understand about how something
okay,
works so that I can be dangerous in my decision making? So, wow, you
exactly.
talk about philosophical. This it gets um let's I see a lot of buzz in the comments, which is great. Let me go back to actually the 5 mindsets. I think that's a really great
Yeah,
if you could talk about what are the 5 mindsets needed for, I guess, future literacy. Is that what it was?
yeah, yeah. I mean, one of the mindsets is the future starts at the edge. So you look at early iterations of technology, and it's clunky and it's gimmicky. It looks like a toy, and you think, never going to work. And then lo and behold, it's it becomes this hockey stick of disruption. So I think be comfortable with looking at clunky and not quite working yet. I know people made a lot of fun of Will Smith eating spaghetti about a year ago. It was the Stable Diffusion, I think, video, um, and it wasn't great. But now we've got Sora, so like it looked awful, and now it's amazing. I'd like to see Will Smith eating spaghetti in Sora and compare those two. That would be a great, like, in 12 months. So the future starts at the edge. Be
Yeah.
comfortable with the clunky, the gimmicky. That's one. The other one is, we've spoken about this, is innovation is a team sport.
Mm,
Having the right people, you've got to work together. You've got to cross pollinate. Some people are really good at removing obstacles. Some people are really good at being technical experts. Some people are good at um, smoothing out and making the path easy for you by calming people down, bringing them in, getting them involved, like all those deep personal, interpersonal skills.
mm,
Embrace accidents is another mindset.
mm,
So while you're experimenting, you're learning. So be comfortable with risk, be comfortable with mistakes. Or if you're in a highly regulated industry, make sure that you have a sandbox where you can play and make risks and take risks in a safe way. Um, the paradox of success is you need failure to achieve it. So allow yourself to fail. I
mm.
think is an important mindset. Um, the other thing is, the future isn't a straight line. Um, we're not going to get there in a very linear way. It's going to be messy. We're going to veer off the path. But I think, for me, what I found the most profound and helpful is, let's imagine our future 5 to 10 years out from now. create a really visceral sense of what that is, so everyone can be excited about it. Elon Musk does that well. He's like, this is the vision, this is the future, this is where I see things going, and then I work backwards from there to make it happen. So, what is that preferred future for you as an individual and your company? So, and then you can get on that exponential path, and it's not a straight line there, but at least you know where you're heading.
Mm.
And then one of the most important mindsets is this idea of mind the gap. So, I always like to say, like, um, when you're doing futures work, transformative innovation, it's like stretching elastic band. If you don't stretch enough, the organization isn't going to move. So the gap's too small. If you pull that elastic band and it snaps, you've gone too far. You've lost the organization. So a good future literate mindset is to know how to mind that gap and to
Mm.
have the right tension at the right time to pull the organization and to inspire people to move. So those are five. We have examples at SciFutures, and this is part of our training with leaders. Is we take them through these different aspects and they workshop them, and we use story to really bring them into the future, and then we apply these mindsets, and it's a really great way to rehearse the future. But hopefully that gives everyone who's listening like this qualitative sense of what it's going to take to be successful as a leader and as an executive in this world of rapid change, particularly as it relates to AI.
Mhm.
No one knows all the answers, but I think if you have that mindset, then you'll be equipped to be able to deal with the failures, the risk, the upset people, the rapid changes that are going to happen. They're happening, almost daily, frankly. Yeah.
Mm. That was great.
Sure.
There's what's so interesting about this conversation, and I suppose many conversations are happening at all different levels and parts of the world. And when even my parents, they're as disconnected as they are from what's going on. AI is in their vocabulary as well. If I say ChatGPT, they'll generally know what I'm talking about. So everyone is touching some of this. And when I think about sometimes when we want to improve or be ready or be better equipped, if everything feels very discreet, like I need to earn this degree, I'll be credible if I go to this school, I will,
Yeah.
if I accomplish a list of items, then I should be set. But everything in this conversation and maybe what the reality is it's not quite that. The fact that things are not so linear, and mm, I think it's actually very hopeful. It's actually very interesting and fun paradigm to shift over to, but I can see where it's also very scary. And you talked about lots of people kind of up. So uh, when you now look into our immediate future, let's say the
Mm.
next year, let's just go with a year. We won't go farther than a year. How do you where do you see us in general as a collective of um, in our evolution that's basically in with the evolution of AI in our lives? Where do you see that? Where do you see us?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think what I'm looking for and wanting to see more of is um, conversations about our humanity
Hmm.
and ethics. Do we just roll over and accept this is the future, or can we actively co-create it and shape it? And I think the future isn't a given. It's like it's not, we don't have to invite these huge dystopian scenarios into our reality. We can, through deliberate action and intention,
Hmm.
manage them and co-create. So I'm interested in the initiatives out there that are really trying to make sure that yes, there's transformation, but we preserve our humanity and the ethics in it
Hmm.
related to that. And we haven't spoken about any of the challenges related to AI, like the deep fakes and we can again spend a whole session on that.
Yeah.
But I am still an optimist, and I do believe that. human beings, when banding together with the right intent, can achieve wonderful things that benefit the whole. I still believe that, and I
Mm,
think we have to remind ourselves of that. And we
mm,
can use story to help us create those preferred future visions. That don't have to be naively utopian, but they
yeah.
can be aspirational.
Mm,
Um, so that's what I'm looking for over the next 12 months is, okay, where do people fit in here? How do we make sure we don't wring out the humanity and look after human beings?
mm,
Um, and again, this is where it gets esoteric and philosophical and and kind of poetic in a sense. And I'd like to see more of that. And I think there are some good examples of companies who are doing a good job that are still very effective AI companies. So there's a company called Clue, spelled Qloo, and basically they're a cultural prediction engine.
mm,
Um, and so what they're able to do is, like, if they know Ari likes Quantic and he likes to run, then they could basically use that and make very accurate predictions about all the other things that I might like.
mm,
But they do that in a way that doesn't exploit my data, and they
mm.
do it in a way that doesn't exploit other people's data. And they're very transparent and ethically run, but still very effective. So those are I think, the opportunities over the next year that I'd like to see more of.
Yeah.
Companies that are still doing AI well, but doing it in a way that is responsible. Um, but yeah, we'll see.
We'll see. Well, maybe we'll check in another year. Maybe that's what we need to
Hopefully.
do. All right.
Yeah.
Well, we are at time right now. All right.
Oh
Thank
wow,
you.
that's quick.
So I know, right? Then there's even I didn't even get to all the questions, but
Oh
I
wow.
I feel like the takeaway is there's enough here for us to think about. In fact, audience, those of you
Mm.
who are here in the comment box, what's the thought that's going to stay with you as you click off this session? What is the takeaway for you? What's a question in your mind that you're going to ponder a little bit? And I think that would be really interesting to see where all of your headspaces are because everyone is different. But what I do love is that this is humanity, right? This is what life is, and it's really important to talk about these things. So I always thrive on these conversations. All right, everyone, have a wonderful rest of your evening. If you're just starting your day like Ari, then good morning to you. And if you're in the in between meetings, good luck. And you have 11 minutes to take care of things before your next call. But we thank you so much for joining us, and we hope to see you at our next content conversation. Bye, everyone.